What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video we're going to be going over the latest roster / ratings update for Madden 20 just ahead of championship weekend. We've got the AFC and NFC championship going down this weekend to find out which two teams are going to the Super Bowl. So EA, of course, put out their weekly roster update, which is going to mainly cover players that participated in last week's playoff games. Now, there's going to be an instance or two, I believe, where you're going to see a player that didn't actually play last week get adjusted in the ratings, but the majority of people are going to be from the 8 teams that were competing last week. So this is the second to last roster update of the year, I believe. I believe the last one will be after the Super Bowl. So these are like the last few little tweaks and adjustments until the next year's Madden comes out, where we'll see things get shifted around a little bit. So if you are new to the channel, however, and you always want to stay up to date on the latest Madden news, tips and tricks, and all of that stuff, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you never miss any of the uploads. We're going to start out like we normally do. We're going to cover the blog, where EA touches on a few specific names that they're moving up and moving down and kind of giving their reasonings as to why, and then I'll go over all of the notable names that went up and went down. So the first guy that they touch on, EA Sports, that is actually Aaron Rodgers, and if you've been following with me all year, you know that Aaron Rodgers has been one of those names that has been up and down all year long in the ratings. He's very rarely stayed put. It's been almost a weekly thing, it feels like. He'll go up 1, he'll go down 1, he'll go up 2, he'll go down 2. It's just kind of been that way for him this year. Just really came off of one of his best games in this of the year, at least in the divisional round. It says, coming off of a 2-touchdown, 243-yard game, Aaron Rodgers and his Packers are headed to the conference championship round this week against the San Francisco 49ers. The Green Bay signal caller had a shaky end to the regular season and hasn't seen a rating increase in Madden 20 since Week 8, when he was bumped up to a 91 overall. Since, he's flipped a few times but has a real chance to finish his season on a positive note. He made a couple of clutch throws in the fourth quarter against Seattle to seal his team's victory and kill the clock. So he's going up 1 overall this week to an 89 overall. He started the year at 90, so he's still below where he actually came in at the start of the year, but if he has another good week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on what happens, he'll probably finish his year above 90 overall. But for now, he's going to be 89. Now, the big name I know everybody wants to hear about, this is a name, I think, a player that I've seen in my comments probably more than any player this year, and that is, of course, Derrick Henry. So, Henry, start to his career was a little slow. He finished last year on a really high note, and he's just been really tearing it up all year long. And a lot of people still feel that his ratings and the fact that he doesn't have any abilities, they feel like he's kind of being disrespected. So this week they definitely wanted to touch on Henry. It says, King Henry did it again. The NFL's regular season rushing leader hung another 200+ scrimmage yards on the Baltimore Ravens in an upset victory last weekend. By the way, he also threw a touchdown pass on a trick play in the first half. The big back exploded through huge holes at the line of scrimmage and took advantage of his team's second half lead, eventually propelling the Titans to the conference championship round against Kansas City this coming weekend. So, he led the league in yards. He's had historic playoff performances back-to-back, having these huge rushing totals. He gets a bump this week of actually 2 overall points. He's now a 92 overall, and he's actually now the 3rd highest rated running back in the game, only behind Christian McCaffrey and Ezekiel Elliott by, obviously Christian McCaffrey hit the 99 club. Ezekiel Elliott's a 93 overall. Henry is a 92. So he's just 1 overall away from being the 2nd highest rated back in the game. I think that's pretty fair. I think he's now really rated where he should be. I think being the 3rd highest rated back is definitely warranted after the season he had and how he finished last year. Now, what a lot of people are going to say is, but he still doesn't have any abilities. He's not an X factor. And this is the thing. When they do the next ability update, Derrick Henry is 1,000% going to get abilities. He'll probably become an X factor player as well. That's without a doubt going to happen. Like I said, he's the 3rd highest rated running back in the game. He led the league in yards. He's been historic in the playoffs so far. He's not going to end the year without abilities or without an X factor. The thing with abilities is those only get updated maybe 4 to 5 times the entire year. Every so many weeks, those get updated via a title update. They don't mess with that in the roster update, because the roster update is completely separate from that. That is just to, switch ratings, or like if there was a trade or something to switch a player to his new team. That's all the roster update is for. And the ratings, or excuse me, the abilities and the X factors and things like that, those are kind of more people oversee that, whereas the ratings is mostly just like 2 guys that oversees the ratings, and they don't have complete say in the abilities. That's kind of like the whole team has say in that. So yes, Derrick Henry should have had abilities a long time ago. He probably should have started the year with the armbar ability. For whatever reason, he didn't, and he's gone this whole year without him. But when they do the next ability update, which will probably be the next title update, it'll probably be the one like right after the Super Bowl or after the playoffs, probably be the last ability update of the year. He's definitely going to get his abilities. I know it's been taking time, but he's definitely going to get them, because it would just literally make no sense for him not to. Now, the last player they touched on positively here in the blog is Marques Hollywood Brown. It said that he closed out the rookie season in style, going for 7 catches and 126 yards last week. Obviously, the Ravens came up short, but Brown had a good game. So he bumps up 1 overall. He's now an 80 overall, officially kind of in that next tier of overall that he's now in the 80s. So he finishes the year on a pretty high note, and should be somebody to really watch going forward. Now, a couple players that they wanted to talk about that they brought down this week. One of those is Demarcus Robinson, wide receiver of the Chiefs. He had some notable drops last week, so it's really not shocking to see him go down. It said, fortunately for Chiefs fans, Demarcus Robinson's drop plague Sunday didn't result in a disappointment for his team. Though early on it didn't look good, Robinson was targeted 4 times against the Texans, but managed to catch just 1 single pass for 25 yards. He blatantly dropped a couple of very catchable balls, and they were hard to unsee. Thus, Robinson is due for a downtick in his Madden ratings this week. So he drops 1 to a 76 overall. And the next guy they talk about is Trey Flowers, cornerback of the Seahawks. It says, Seattle's second-year corner Trey Flowers had a tough assignment on Sunday night covering Packers wide receiver Davante Adams. Spoiler alert, Flowers did not do his job very well. Adams exited the game with 8 catches for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns, setting a Packers record for most receiving yards in a playoff game. Flowers beat on a 20-yard touchdown completion early in the first quarter and was toasted on a 40-yard catch and run into the end zone. So he's coming down this week. He comes down 1 overall and is now a 77 overall. So those are the specific players that they touched on. Now I'm going to go through, just the overall list. So going up, we got Davante Adams. He had the big week. He goes up +1 to a 94 overall, really climbing those wide receiver ranks in the Madden. In the game, he's definitely one of the higher rated receivers now. Mitchell Schwartz went up +1 to a 94 overall. Eric Kendricks, although the Vikings came up short, he's going up +2 overall, now at 89 overall. He had a fantastic year, and he's about right where he deserves to be there, pretty much right on that brink of a 90 overall. Tyler Lockett had a pretty good week. He goes up +1 to an 88 overall. Joe Mixon, one of the guys who actually didn't play last week, he goes up +1 to an 87 overall. He's now officially the 10th highest rated running back in Madden, as he closed the year very strongly. And things should be looking up for him, as Bengals will probably draft Joe Burrow as long as they can get that offensive line figured out. The weapons aren't really that terrible in Cincinnati, so Joe Burrow coming in should really help him, especially next year. Fred Warner of the Niners goes up +1 to an 87 overall. He's been going up all year long. Mark Andrews goes up +1 to an 85. Rodgers Saffold goes up +1 to an 84. Lamar Miller goes up +1 to an 84. That one's kind of just like out of left field because he didn't play all year, so that's kind of a weird one. Frank Clark goes up +1 to an 83 overall. Tevin Coleman goes up +1 to an 83. James White, also a guy that didn't play this past week, he goes up +1 to an 83 overall. Damian Williams goes up +2 to an 82 overall. Quan Alexander made his return last week, still looking pretty sharp. He goes up +1 to an 81 overall. Patrick Ricard goes up +2 to an 81 overall. And Ryan Tannehill is up +1 to an 80 overall, so he's now in that next tier. Now, in terms of guys going down, Stephon Diggs comes down 1 to a 93 overall, another guy that's been up and down all year long. Lamar Jackson, for the first time in many weeks actually came down, -1 to a 92 overall. He didn't have his best game, so I don't think many people can argue with that. Still probably will win the MVP, I'm sure. Still had a great year, but definitely wasn't his best performance last week. Nick Chubb obviously didn't play last week. He comes down 1 to a 91 overall. Dalvin Cook came down 1 to a 90 overall as well. Obviously, he didn't have a great week, but that Niners defense is very good. Julian Edelman comes down 1 to a 87 overall. Todd Gurley comes down 1 to a 86. Jordan Reed comes down 1 to a 84. Matthew Judon comes down 1 to a 83. Andrew Norwell comes down 1 to a 83. Matt Breida actually comes down 2 overall, so one of the few Niners to actually come down. He comes down 2 to an 82 overall. LaShawn McCoy also coming down 2 to an 81 overall. KJ Wright comes down 1 to an 81 overall, and Jordan Howard lastly down 1 to an 80 overall. So that's really all the notable names this week. Let me know what you think below. Do you think Derrick Henry is finally respected and where he needs to be, or do you think he still needs to be higher? Let me know everything below. Who do you think's winning this weekend? Who do you think's going to the Super Bowl? And as always, I will see you guys next time.